Hi everyone, a little bit of a different video today. It's vloggy style. This was meant to be part of a vlog, but it ended up being a really long conversation. But after talking to lots of you guys on Instagram, I felt like this was deserving of its own video. So we're going to talk about bullying today. We have had an issue in our family with kids bullying Grayson. He's given me permission to talk about it. I talk about this in this video. I just wanted to preface this and give this an intro because I had intended it for it to be part of a vlog. But yes, I think this conversation is important because I think many of us deal with situations where our children are getting bullied. It can be really difficult. It can be really isolating. You can sometimes feel silly for being upset. Depending on the type, some parents just don't care that their kids are bullying other kids, right? So I think this is just important to shed light on. Sorry, my bird is like calling me, and he does this every time I film, I feel like. Unfortunately, so many parents can relate to their children experiencing things like this, and this was a new thing for us. So I wanted to have a chat with you guys about it. It helps me to process things when I talk. And yeah, this is a perfect example of life happens, and every video can't be a pretty beautiful video. Sometimes we need to sit down and talk about some real life stuff that happens, and that's what is at the heart of my channel. It's always been a journal of my life of sorts. And so without further ado, let's have a conversation about bullying and our kiddos. Good morning, everybody. Cheers to a new day. I was supposed to film yesterday, and I actually filmed a clip while we were at homeschool meetup. But yesterday was one of those days that felt like it was probably 2 days long. You know what I mean? Like, I forgot things that had happened that morning because it felt like that was yesterday or the day before, but it was still that same day. I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about something that happened. I don't want to share too much, but I'm trying to really document life, right? And this is a big part of it, and it's just bugged me a lot, obviously, and talking through things helps me process my feelings about things, helps me process situations. That was a Finn sneeze, excuse you. Oh, now we're coughing. Are you okay? Anyway, I know a lot of you, sorry, my exercise ball, my hips have been, or my pelvic pain has been a little more prevalent this week. I know a lot of you relate to that idea of talking through your feelings. It's why I journal. It's why Cody is my ear. It's why sometimes it's really a big reason why I do YouTube, right? So we actually had a pretty severe issue with bullying. And this is not something it's not something we've encountered very many times, because when you take away, let's just be honest, when you take away the public school world and you're in the homeschool world, it's just different. It doesn't happen as much. When it happens, it's very different. It's dealt with responsibly, appropriately, quickly. The kids can even be friends after in a lot of cases. It's just not the same because the people who tend to homeschool tend to be more progressive, gentle parents. They tend to try to parent more intentionally in general. Like, those are just the kind of people that tend to homeschool in most cases. So like in our community where we have a huge group of children from baby to teenager in our homeschool group, just ours, you can see a stark difference. Sorry, my voice is like froggy because I'm drinking coffee. It hasn't woken up yet. We slept in today. You can see a stark difference between a group of homeschoolers on the playground and a group of public school kids on the playground. The homeschoolers are not cliquey. They're not mean to each other. They're not there's just this meanness that tends to be the norm on the playground amongst public school children. And I'm not saying every public school kid is mean. That's not what I'm saying. It's just, it tends to be that way more often because there's more peer pressure. They're not as supervised. They are not, when an issue happens in a supervised homeschool setting, those kids are talked through the emotional steps to figure out the problem if they need help. So we teach empathy and we help them problem solve, we help them communicate. And that just isn't able to happen in a public school setting because it's a teacher versus like 35 students, at least where I am. Do you know what I'm saying? So I hope that's coming across okay. So it's just different, right? Okay, so this didn't happen in our homeschool group, obviously. But we live in a neighborhood. How can I say this without like I try and keep our location quite private. We live in a new neighborhood and we have a beautiful new school that's built. Our neighborhood is like being built around it. And so our neighborhood is like I've mentioned, it's like a little slice of the 90s. It is full of children. Almost every single house has children. And that has been such a huge blessing to moving to this neighborhood because my kids go outside and they have so many friends. There's always somebody to play with. The neighbors are also friendly. It's very rare that you get, a house of disgruntled kind of people, which is a rare thing, I think. I think our neighborhood is uncommon. However, because we are so close to a public school, the majority of the families move here so they have access and closeness to that public school for their kids. So we are not the only homeschoolers in the neighborhood, but we are the minority. Most of the kids are public school kids, right? So Grayson and Mackenzie, they have their public school kid friends and then they have their homeschool group friends, and they tend to hang out with them during different times. Like obviously the public school kids can be hung out with in the evenings and on the weekends, and their homeschool kid friends are more flexible. So my kids actually have a very large group of friends, but there's that divide of like, it keeps them separated in a way that makes them more manageable for my kids, but that doesn't have anything to do with this. Okay, I'm getting wordy. Basically, what I mean to say is there is especially for Grayson, there is a large group of children that play together often, all the time, and they just go out. We know the parents. It's just lovely. They're in our houses, in our backyards. It's just the little group of kids. Mackenzie does have some friends in the neighborhood as well. She is more introverted. She chooses her friend circle more closely, and she doesn't always want to go out and romp around the neighborhood because she's getting older, right? Hi, what's up? 1 second, I'm about to have a big kid interruption. I'll get back to you, hold on. Okay, had to have a little chat with the kids. Not an intro. You alright? Okay. Not an in trouble chat. They just came to talk to me. Okay, so basically now you got the background of our neighborhood and that these are public school kids. So we're going to talk about Grayson because Grayson is the one that the incident occurred with. And I asked him, I had a conversation with him. I asked if I could talk about this and he gave me permission to talk about it. So there's this group of little boys in our neighborhood. There's like 3 or 4 of them, and they have been an issue for a long time, like a year and a half. The other kids call them the boy gang, and they are just children who are being sent out and not really looked after that. And they are mean. They are bullies. They are wreaking havoc. They're honestly like being neighborhood menaces. And it's been an issue for a long time. And I was aware that several families had had issues with them. My kids have had a few encounters with them, but no serious problems. But again, I was aware that other families had had some problems with them. So on Thursday, this is Saturday, sorry, Sam is calling Mackenzie to try and get her to come back. after school in the afternoon, after we were done school, after school was out, the kids were all playing outside. Grayson was playing with his friends. Now, sometimes they miss each other because it's dinner time or something like that. So they'll be walking back and forth to each other's homes. And they're usually playing outside of one of our houses, depending on what they're playing that day. And it's a lovely relationship. Like, we all the parents, we all have each other's phone numbers. We all kind of like check in with each other, help our younger boys do check-ins and let each other know where the kids are at any given time. And it's just a lovely little system we have. Well, Grayson came home quite upset 3 separate times on Thursday. Mind you, Cody was home with me this day because he was off. And so we were both home, and Grayson had been playing outside, and we had finished all our errands, and this was in the afternoon. The first time he came in, he said, "Hey, those like mean kids are bullying me." And he was really upset. And so we were like, okay, like, thanks for telling us everything. And we just kind of were like, okay, let's monitor this. Because it was just like, hey, they're just being mean. So we were kind of watching. We also obviously told Grayson, stay away from those kids. You just go play with your friends. If anything else happens, let us know. And then not very long later, he comes back just absolutely distraught. He like rushes into the house, and we're like, what's wrong? What's going on? And this group of these 3 boys had cornered him against a fence as he was walking home. So what had happened was the first incident, they were just being rude, and then they were also just trying to trip him as he was walking back from his friend's house. They were like throwing things at him, following him on their bikes, being mean. And then, so the second incident, they had cornered him against the fence. Grayson doesn't play with these kids. They're not his friends. He doesn't really know them, but they tend to do this where they'll just pick a kid to pick on. And this has been an ongoing issue in our neighborhood. And so they cornered him against the fence, and they were trying to beat him up. He was able to get himself away and run home. And so that is when we were like, no. And so Cody went out, and he found the boys, and he gave them a very good lashing in the street, because clearly nobody else was. By lashing, I mean tongue lashing. He specifically, Grayson pointed exactly which boys out, and he talked to them. And at first they were like, oh, it wasn't us. They're just being little buttholes. And so this is this huge issue. Cody deals with it, very firmly speaks to them, warns them that if anything like this happens again, there's going to be very large consequences. We're going to be speaking to their parents. Bullying is very serious, blah, blah, blah. He was also total dad voice, stay away from my kid. Absolutely Papa Bear. Cody goes into full dad mode. And again, some of these other families that were having issues with Cody did that, and then was walking home, bumped into some of the other neighbors that were also having issues with these kids, and they were like, hey, what's going on? You having problems with those kids too, kind of thing. So basically what happened was all of these neighbors ended up coming together. I have been texting with them for days, a few of the neighbors. Everybody's talking to each other and being like, yeah, we're having issues with those kids too. They are being really rude. Our kids have had problems with them. So it's basically suddenly it was an issue with our kids, or with one of our children, and then all of a sudden all of the neighbors came out, were like, us too. These kids are a really big problem. And so now all of these families have kind of come together to be like, we need to deal with this, because our kids can't be afraid to go outside. And so that same day, about an hour later, those kids came back and were ding-dong ditching our door. They came back with baseball bats. It's serious. And I'm so riled up about it. So yesterday, I didn't vlog because I was just obviously dealing with all of this. And so Cody again went and chased them home and got them away from the house, got them away from Grayson. And then the parents who I'm speaking with who are also having issues with these kids, we've all been talking about like what the game plan is here to do. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna give the parents the courtesy of a conversation. Let them know what is happening in case they're really unaware that their kids are doing things like this. And they'll either react well and be responsible and deal with the situation themselves, or they won't, and we will have to take more severe measures to prevent these kids from harming our children. And so I went and had the conversation with, I tried to go have a conversation with the mother of one of the mothers of the ringleader boy, and because she had 2 children involved. And honestly, she was so rude about it. And I wouldn't have gone except for one of the other neighbors had a big issue of like property was vandalized by these kids, blah, blah, blah. And she had kind of dealt with it. So I was like, okay, so maybe she's a little bit receptive to knowing that her children are up to no good and dealing with it. And honestly, you guys, she was so rude. I have never. She like shut the door in my face. I barely got 5 words out. I was super kind and polite. Yeah, like she didn't even, like I didn't even get to explain exactly what had happened the day before. So now we're at that point where it's like, okay, that was your one chance you got to handle this responsibly. Mama Bear, pregnant rainbow, fully activated now, fully peeved, not going to fly, but hey, she was given her chance. I would have wanted to know if it was my children. I would have wanted to have that conversation. And of course you get defensive when your kids are involved. But at the same time, if somebody comes to me and it's like, hey, your kid beat up my kid, I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to resolve that if I can and work with the other parent, right? Isn't that what we do as responsible, mature adults and parents? Apparently not. So, yeah, it's gotten to the point where all of these families have kind of come together, and it's no longer going to be a conversation with the parents that are the parents of the children who are doing this. It's now going to be taken into more serious hands, honestly. And I guess that's just the consequence of the actions, right? So I just wanted to explain. It's on my mind a lot. I'm not fired up about it, but it's obviously very stressful, a very stressful situation. I'm pregnant. I'm much more emotional about things. I'm not even that much more emotional about things. I'm just more protective, and we've never really had a situation where one of our children was being bullied like this, and they've singled him out. And we don't know why, and usually there is no why. Usually it's just because they've seen something that is pick-onable and they do it. And it's awful. And unfortunately, a lot of the times you meet the parents of these kids and it's not surprising that the kids are the way that they are. You know what I mean? Like oftentimes the apple doesn't fall far, and it's just the way that it is. And unfortunately, it's one of those situations where I really want to see the best in people, and I really want to give people the benefit of the doubt, and then some people just don't. They just fall really, really short. Let's be honest. But that's not like the moral of the story here. I'm just talking about this because 1, it's a big thing in our life. 2, I think we need to talk about it more. 3, I think parents really need to get themselves involved. If your child is being bullied, don't just stand there and do nothing. Like it can escalate so quickly, and it can become so serious, and it is so emotionally damaging to your child. So we're like dealing with the emotional fallout on our end and just making sure Grayson feels really safe and loved. But it's not something we're going to stand for. It just can't be, right? You can't put up with it. Regardless of if the other parents are going to deal with it or not, then you bring in people that will deal with it. It sounds a little mafia. I mean, like police. However, Sorry, the neighbor's dogs are going. In the same breath, we experienced this like awful moment with this one parent, but then this beautiful, heartwarming moment with another. One of the other families who are kind of, involved now, they are our boys are friends. Our boys are quite good friends, and our boys are like Grayson goes over there. He comes over here. They're one of the boys that Grayson is going to hang out with when he goes out into the neighborhood, and the dad had spoken to Cody when he saw Cody out, and after Cody had gone after them the first time, and Cody kind of gave him a rundown of what was happening, and he was like, "Whoa, super not okay. We don't stand for that. We have a zero tolerance policy for bullying. If there's anything we can do, let us know," kind of thing. And then his wife had texted me as well. Just super supportive, super sweet. Anybody who knows Grayson knows he's an incredibly sweet, kind boy. And they were like, "What the heck?" Like he just doesn't. Nobody deserves it. But like Grayson he doesn't pick fights with anybody. He doesn't do anything to prompt that kind of behavior. Not that there is anything that should prompt it. You know what I'm saying? Yesterday, so I had just gone and dealt with this lady, and she was so awful. And then I come home and we get a knock at the door, and it's the other neighbors from down the street. And they brought Grayson a brand new Nerf gun and Nerf bullets, and their kids had made him a card, and they just wanted to check in on him and apologize that happened to him, and reassure him that if he felt like he couldn't get to our house, if he saw those kids or anything, that like he was welcome to go to their house, and that they were there for him, and like come get them if anything's happening or anything like that. Like just so supportive, so wonderful. Brought him a toy. Like Grayson was so taken aback, he nearly cried on the spot. I bawled like a baby after, just because I was so shaken up from this experience with this other mom, and then just like bam, immediately after, it was like good, wholesome people. And isn't that how it is, right? It's so easy to be like, "Oh, people suck," but people don't suck. For the majority of the time, people don't suck, and I really believe that. Some people suck, absolutely, 100%. That lady kind of sucks. But it was just this wonderful thing, and now like it makes us feel safer knowing that there's so many other wonderful families over here that are looking out for our son and looking out for our kids, and we're looking out for theirs. And it's just a really good sense of community, and to know that this is not going to fly in this neighborhood, and none of the parents are going to allow this to happen. These kids are not allowed over near our houses. We're all like, "Nope, you can go home, get out of here. Sorry, your kids don't get to play over here if they're gonna be awful." I don't know. It's just been a consuming situation, and I probably talked way too long about this, and I'm probably gonna have to cut a lot of it out, but I just wanted to share what was going on, because I know it's quite relatable when you're raising children. And I know most people have dealt with bully situations, and a lot of people have dealt with worse ones. But as a homeschool family, it's just not something that happens very often, I find. And so it was kind of like a jarring week for us. It was quite intense. So yeah, that's my story time. All right, you guys, thank you so much for all of your support and love. I've already felt so much on Instagram. I wish we didn't have to talk about this. It sucks. I wish we didn't have this experience. But it's also a really good teaching moment for our family, and it's going to be dealt with, and it's not going to continue. And of course, I will update you guys on any updates if there are any. Maybe this parent will end up parenting and dealing with it, and we won't ever see this kid again. Or maybe it will escalate, and the bullying will continue, and I'll keep you posted on what's going on. So thank you so much for watching, you guys. I know, like, really weird video, not my usual content, but anyway, I was gonna say I hope you enjoyed, but do any of us enjoy conversations like this? Not really. I hope you're well, and we will see you in my next one. Bye.